There are events that happen once in a lifetime, and yet minds still come to an agreement. Some stories are solved, others remain a mystery until the end. But the disappearance of the Sodder children falls somewhere between the two, a mystery in which every clue seems to lead to a reading of the mystery rather than an answer. What happened on Christmas Eve 1945 in Fayetteville, West Virginia, was not just an accident or a tragic finding, but the beginning of a story fraught with suspicion, suspicious hints, and hypotheses that spread between the average and organized crime. A family of 10 sleeps in their home, wakes up to flames. Some flee, while 5 children disappear without help. How can a fire, as important as its power, swallow bodies without leaving behind bones or even remains? Was the crime just a more heinous crime? Why, for some reason, over the years, have testimonies emerged claiming to have seen the children disappearing in different parts of the world? Were they abducted before the fire broke out? Or is there a hidden force that wants to bury the truth forever? What this mystery has uncovered fascinates historians and crime scientists. But before trying to understand what happened, we must go back to that fateful night. Everything seemed normal that day, or at least that's what Jenny Sodder thought, a caring mother who was spending her time getting the house ready for Christmas with her husband, George, and their 10 children. George was a practical man, an Italian immigrant who had struggled to make a life in America, but he was known for his strong political views against fascism, especially against Italian dictator Benito Mussolini, which made him unpopular among some of the Italian immigrants in town. After a long day of celebrations, the family began to get ready for bed. Jenny decided to go upstairs around 12:30 a.m., but before she could fall asleep, the phone suddenly rang. When she answered, she heard a woman laughing in an unnatural way, then asked about someone she had never heard of before. In the background, there was a strange noise and muffled voices, as if other people were trying to stifle their laughter. Jenny hung up the phone, feeling something strange, but she couldn't quite figure out what. Looking around, she noticed that the lights were still on, and the front door was unlocked, even though she had asked the children to close it. She felt uneasy, but decided to turn off the lights and make sure the doors were locked before she went back to bed. But the sleep didn't last long. Moments later, Jenny woke up to a muffled thump on the ceiling, as if something had fallen. She didn't think much of it and went back to sleep. But she woke up again, this time to the smell of smoke. When she opened her eyes, she saw an orange glow dancing in the hallway. The house was on fire. Jenny ran to wake George, and the two of them started screaming to wake the children. They managed to get 4 of them out, but when George tried to climb up to rescue the rest, he found the inner staircase completely engulfed in flames. At that moment, George realized he had to think fast. He ran outside, where he always had a ladder next to the house, but he couldn't find it. It was strange. He had been putting it in the same place for years. He tried to use his truck to get upstairs, but it wouldn't start. Not one truck, but 2 trucks. How could both vehicles break down at the same time, even though they had been working fine the day before? Even the water he had kept in a barrel near the house was completely frozen, making it impossible to put out the fire. There was nothing to do but watch the house collapse in just 45 minutes. When the fire brigade arrived in the morning, there was nothing but a pile of ash. But what they found, or rather, what they didn't find, was the most surprising thing. When the firefighters began searching the rubble, they found no human remains. There were no bones, no teeth, no evidence that the children had been burned there. It was known that a fire, even if very hot, could not completely burn the bones. In many cases, the bones remained even after being exposed to the fire for hours. Some household items were even left intact in the ashes, making it impossible to believe that the children's bodies had been completely burned. Then came strange testimonies. A strange man was seen watching the family's home 2 days before the fire. An eyewitness said he saw the family's children in a car immediately after the fire, driven by an unknown man. A woman who worked in a cafe hundreds of kilometers away said she saw the children with 2 strangers several months after the fire. Years later, the family received a letter containing a photo of a man who looked like their missing son, with the words, "I am Louis Sodder. I love my family. Save me." All this evidence did not lead to any definitive conclusion, but it opened the door to many theories, including that the children were deliberately kidnapped and that the fire was merely a cover for the crime. Over the decades, Jenny and George never stopped searching for their children. They placed ads in newspapers and sent private investigators to far and wide, but to no avail. George died in 1969 and Jenny in 1989, never knowing the truth. But why was the truth never revealed? Maybe someone didn't want it to be known. Maybe George was right to fear his political enemies. Or maybe there was a greater force working in the shadows to keep it hidden.